If you've been looking to move to St. Augustine and you've been scrolling south on the map thinking, okay, Palm Coast looks cheaper, maybe that's my coastal plan B, this video is for you. On paper, Palm Coast still looks more affordable than St. Augustine. More inventory, quieter neighborhoods, fewer tourism premiums, and generally lower housing costs. But in 2026, there's a twist that doesn't show up on the pretty listing photos. Palm Coast just approved roughly a $696 million budget for 2026, a 65% jump from the prior year. And the big driver is a massive water and wastewater infrastructure investment to catch up with growth and aging systems. At the same time, flood risk data and new citizens insurance rules mean that some of those cheaper Canal and C-section homes come with surprise flood requirements and higher carrying costs than many buyers were expecting. So if you're up in St. Johns County or you're looking in that area, and now you're looking at Palm Coast as a more budget-friendly option, stay with me. I'm going to walk you through the real 2026 numbers, the insurance and the flood traps and the stealth HOA code rules, and where the actual opportunity might be if you're willing to trade a little St. Augustine charm to Palm Coast long-term affordability. If you're thinking about Palm Coast as your cheaper coastal plan B, stay to the end so you are aware of what you might be getting into, especially on those canals. Why does this matter right now and not someday? Because Palm Coast hit its middle age moment. The City Council approved about a $696 million budget for fiscal year 2026, up about 65% from the prior year's $420 million. And when you dig into it, the big driver isn't a bloated general fund, it's a massive jump in the water and wastewater utility capital fund from roughly $83 million to around $326 million in 1 year. In plain English, the pipes and plants that were put in when Palm Coast was a quieter, smaller community are all aging at the same time. So if you buy a house here in 2026, you're not just buying granite countertops and a nice backyard, you're buying into a city that is taking on major debt and capital projects to catch up with its own growth. For some of you, that's actually a positive. You want to see a city invest in itself now because you're planning to be here for 10 or 20 years. For others, it's a surprise. You heard low taxes, no HOA, hidden gems, and you're only now realizing that part of that story was built on years of underinvestment. And if you don't understand how this sorting market works in sections like the F section and the R section and the C section, you can absolutely end up underwater financially and in a few places literally. Now let's talk about the sorting phase, because this is where a lot of people get confused. As of early 2026, different data sources are all telling a similar story. Palm Coast is not a runaway seller's market anymore. Median list prices are in the mid 300s to mid 400s, depending on the source and neighborhood. But the real story is the slowdown. Homes are taking around 3 months or more to sell on average, and sellers often accepting a few percent under list. What that feels like on the ground is a sorting market. Sellers are still emotionally anchored to 2022 and 2023 when money was cheap and insurance, while annoying, hadn't fully spiked yet, but buyers are looking at 2026 insurance, quotes, roof age, 4-point inspections, and potential flood requirements, and they're saying, I like the house, I don't like the ongoing costs. So you see homes sit 90 days, 120 days, 180 days. You see 1 or 2 price drops. You start to wonder what's wrong. Sometimes the answer is nothing is wrong. With the house, it's just a fossil when it comes to insurance. Maybe the roof is 17 years old. Maybe the electrical or plumbing is original. On paper, you can insure it, but a lot of carriers either won't touch it or will price it with a very high premium. In Florida right now, once your roof crosses that 15-year mark, you're instantly having a different insurance conversation. So that affordable Florida dream home might come with a $15,000 to $20,000 roof and higher premiums until you fix it. Here's how I'd play the sorting market if you love Palm Coast. Number 1, don't panic about long days on market. Use it. Long days on market is a clue. Ask, what's the story behind this house? Number 2, get insurance quotes early on that specifically address not just a generic what's insurance in Palm Coast. Number 3, build the big ticket updates into your offer strategy. Don't pretend they don't exist. If everyone knows that the roof needs to be done in 2 years, you might as well negotiate with that reality. Some of the best deals I see are the ugly ducklings that need one major project. Once you do it, you're future-proofing the house in a way the previous owner never did. Next myth we have to kill. Palm Coast has no HOA, so I can do whatever I want. Palm Coast is a master plan city. Even if you're in one of the lettered sections with no formal HOA fee, the city itself acts like a super HOA through code enforcement. In 2026, a lot of the friction I hear from residents is not about the city budget, it's about citations. Things like work trucks with signage in the driveway, boats and trailers parked in front of the house, unpermitted fences or sheds and yard standards. So if you're a contractor or you run a small business and your wrap van is your pride and joy, understand in many Palm Coast neighborhoods, that van might not be allowed to sleep in your driveway. That is a big culture shock for people moving from areas where you can park your boat, 3 trucks and a trailer out front and nobody blinks. Now there is a flip side. The stealth HOA effect is part of why so many of the neighborhoods still look tidy and consistent. You don't usually see a $600,000 Canal home sandwiched between 3 junkyards, but the trade-off is control, your control. Now, before you buy, I want you to do 3 things. First, literally read the City of Palm Coast code enforcement rules. I know it's boring, but it's cheaper than getting fined after you move in. Second, drive the neighborhood at night and on weekends. That's when you see how people actually live, who parks what and where. Third, ask yourself honestly, do I want the freedom to park my boat or work truck here, or do I want the tighter rules and the cleaner look? If you pick Palm Coast assuming no HOA drama, you might accidentally sign up for a very strict version of it, just enforced by the city instead of a board. Now, let's talk canals, because this is where the romance meets the reality. Palm Coast canals are very popular, and they're why a lot of people fall in love with this place. You get that old Florida feel, salt water in your backyard, and you can be on your boat in minutes. But newer flood risk tools show that a large share of Palm Coast properties, around half in some estimates, face some level of flood risk over the next 30 years, with elevated risk around the older saltwater canal systems. Layer on top of that what Citizens Insurance is doing. For Citizens, policyholders in Florida, flood insurance has been phased in as a requirement based on the value of the home. Policies insuring property values at $600,000 or more need flood by 2024, $500,000 or more by 2025, and $400,000 or more starting January 1st this year. So if you're with Citizens and your coverage limit is at or above those thresholds, you are required to carry flood, even if you're technically in a lower risk FEMA flood zone like X. In canal neighborhoods where values commonly run in the 600,000 to 1 million range, this is not hypothetical, this is real. So if you're shopping in the C section or any canal neighborhood, here's what I want you to do. Get or review an elevation certificate, or at least know your base flood elevation. Talk to an insurance broker who actually understands Palm Coast. Ask specifically, at this purchase price and coverage limit, will I be required to carry flood? What does that look like in dollars? Canal living can still be incredible, but it is no longer a casual decision you gloss over at the end of your inspection period. Okay, so let's pivot to the opportunity, because this is not all doom and gloom. If the canals are the old Florida chapter of Palm Coast, Town Center is what this city wants to be when it grows up chapter. For years, Town Center felt like a ghost town with big ideas and empty lots. Now you've got a DC blocks, subsea cable landing station and data center project, which ties Palm Coast into global digital infrastructure. You've got the Med Nexus and university presence bringing in healthcare and education, and you've got a YMCA with an Olympic-sized pool planned in the town center area. That mix, data, healthcare, education, and community amenities, is what starts to shift the place away from just a quiet residential neighborhood toward more of a tech med and knowledge work hub. Instead of only obsessing over canals, look for what I call information gain sectors, the parts of the city where the age mix, job base, and daily traffic are changing. Right now, that's in and around Town Center. If you can find a property within a roughly 5-mile radius of Town Center, the new YMCA site, and the Med Nexus University facilities, you're buying into the part of Palm Coast that is getting younger and more economically diverse, not older and more fragile. Is it as romantic as sipping coffee on your dock? No. But if you're thinking 7 to 10 years out, that might be where your appreciation is quietly hiding. Palm Coast is still a fantastic Florida option. You get the trees, the canals, the space, and yes, it's still cheaper than a lot of big name coastal spots nearby. But in 2026, it's a paradise with rules, with a big infrastructure bill coming due and with a much higher cover charge than it had even a few years ago. Now, if you're serious about moving here and don't do it blind, I put together a 2026 Palm Coast insurance and elevation checklist for buyers, especially if you're looking in the canal sections, so you can stress test a house before you fall in love with it. The link is in the description below. And if you want to see how Palm Coast growing pains compare to what's happening up in St. Augustine this year, watch this video I've got linked on the screen. I'll see you there. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I am Kim Devlin, a realtor here in Northeast Florida, and I will catch you on the next one.